Oh,
we did not say that.
men and women having equal rights. దీని మీరు కమెంట్స్ లేదు అసలు ఉండదు.
ఏ సినిమా చూసావు బ్రో నువ్వు? Hi guys, welcome to MU Vocalix's first episode for this season. Today we're here with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dr. Pradeep Racherla sir. And sir, hi sir.
Hello, how are you?
Good sir, how are you sir?
I'm doing good.
So sir, before we get into a lot of the things we'll talk about, so I want to start off with a small kind of an icebreaker question. So we know you're really a marketing genius and a marketing expert. So before all of this, what do you think of all time your favorite marketing campaign is?
My favorite marketing campaign. Well, yeah, over the years we have seen a lot of crazy campaigns, in India, US. But if let's say we stick to India, one of my favorite campaigns is the Cadbury's campaign. And Cadbury's have always done fabulous campaigns. 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago, they had this campaign called Kuch Baat Hai, wherein a guy hits a six and then his girlfriend runs into the cricket stadium and starts dancing, right? If you think about it now, it's kind of a sexist version, right? In the sense that, it's always the girlfriend dancing and the guy playing cricket. So what they did, interestingly, which I've never seen before, is they corrected it. And then last year, they came up with the same campaign. But in this case, the girl is now hitting a six and the boyfriend is going into the stadium and dancing. Right? So that I would say is probably one of my favorite campaigns, because what they've done is they have remembered it and they have kind of changed it and also made it correct, politically correct, but also fun. So yeah, we can stick to that.
So like, would you say like it's a new age kind of?
It's a new age way of thinking about it. Yes. So that's probably one of my favorite campaigns.
So as we talk about you're a marketing genius, sir. You're an expert in marketing and you're the associate dean here at the School of Management as well. So how did it all start, sir? Like, what are the basics of marketing? Where did it all begin?
See, I was always interested in business as a subject, even though technically in my undergrad I was a biochemist. And the first chance I got out of it. I went for my MBA, and probably that's where this whole interest in marketing came up. Plus then subsequently I went into marketing and sales. I was an entrepreneur, worked a lot in the market and learned a lot of things, from personal experience as well. But over a period of time, I realized that this is one area which probably is very close to my heart, because I see that whatever you do in business, ultimately it is all about customers, right? Getting the right customers, giving them the right products and services, and then subsequently engaging in them such a way that they keep coming back and buying your product. So if you define marketing from that perspective, I think it's probably one of the core functions of business, and that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoy being in marketing.
So is there any other specific reasons why you got into this field, or is it just? So
this was the motivation. Yes, as I said, this was the motivation. And then subsequently when I went for my PhD, it was so much fun, because till my PhD, I was doing marketing, right? I was in the market, I was talking to the customers. But then when I went into my PhD, I realized that there's this whole new world which I'm not exposed to, wherein I'm not just doing marketing, but I'm actually studying consumers, I'm studying customers, I'm studying marketing processes. And all of this, right, the front end as well as the back end, made so much sense to me, right, from a domain perspective. And I thought, hey, this is the place to be, from either from a learning perspective or from a doing perspective. Yes. That's how I got into marketing and remained in marketing.
So when we talk about studies and learning and doing, we're in, like, especially the people who are in college right now, people who are about to graduate, we're kind of in a dilemma, sir, of what's going on, and how are we supposed to, expand our skill sets and learn new things. So when we talk about what are the career paths, or what kind of prospective career paths could current ultimate or penultimate year students look forward to?
Yeah. See, there is a very important point that many of you miss, okay? Which is, there is nothing like a set career path. For example, if I were thinking about my career path in undergrad, I would probably be sitting in a lab, doing experiments because I was a biochemistry student, and at that point I was probably thinking MSc biochemistry or biotechnology and then PhD or something like that. But then, as I said, happenstance, conversations with a couple of people, and I changed my interests, right? So one of the things that every student at this point in life should be open to is that so many new things can happen. You have to be open to that, right? But what that means is you have to be constantly learning. You have to be constantly challenged. You have to have the guts to try out something new. Maybe you will fail, right? But you will, succeed many times. But the point is you have to keep trying out new things. Now that said, what kind of paths can you take? I mean, that's the fun thing about business. There's so much to do, right? If you walk into a big company, for example, there are thousands of roles. There are thousands of opportunities. There are thousands of new things that are happening in these companies. And each one is technically a career opportunity, right? For example, many of you, especially the BBA students, are in this specialization called digital technologies. Now, if you think about it from that perspective, today so much of business is run by technology, right? So then the question is, can I, as a student, pick one technology that I feel is exciting to me, and then see what I can learn in that, and see where I can become an expert in that and add value to business? Similarly, there are people who are doing BBA in business analytics, right? Same thing. Today, there is data everywhere, right? You take a retailer, you take a mining company, right? Or you take a supply chain management company. Every single company is today grappling with data. Now, what does data mean? Data means that so much of information is flowing into these companies, and these companies are struggling to understand how they can actually put that data to use to increase value for both customers as well as themselves. So the question that you have to ask is, okay, I have these basic data skills. Now, can I apply them in, let's say, entertainment business? Right? Can I apply them in retailing business? Can I apply them in a mining company? Every single industry has data-driven opportunities. So there is no career set path. At the same time, if you are interested in one type of an industry and you have a specific skill in hand, you basically have to merge them together, and then every domain, there are thousands and thousands of opportunities. That's how you need to think about life and career at this point.
Yes, sir. But sir, when we talk about the emerging AI takeovers, or even layoffs also happening, but like massive layoffs, obviously, how would we, say for example, sir, if I'm a final year student, how can I cope up with this kind of AI takeover of the industry? Because as you can see, maybe even a data analyst role, or if we go into some other kind of technological role, all these, there's a lot of layoffs happening in between, sir.
True.
So how do we like steer through and swerve our way around these potholes so we can actually get into a proper direction?
So there are both myths as well as realities, right? There is a lot of hype around AI. Okay. For example, every time you read a newspaper saying, let's say 1,000 people have been laid off from a company, you should not attribute that to AI. Okay. AI is still not at a point where it is leading to thousands and thousands of layoffs. It is not there yet, because companies are still struggling to integrate AI into their processes, right? If you look at any credible report, you realize that 90% of companies still do not have a clue in terms of how to apply AI. Sure, there are some use cases. You might read a newspaper article saying that, hey, there was this new movie made by AI. Okay, for example, you must have seen one of the latest movies which was made by AI.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that that one single episode will lead to the entire movie industry being closed or thousands of job losses. It doesn't work like that. That said, you need to understand that at every point in history in business, okay, new technologies have come in. For example, 25 years ago when we were in college, right, internet came in. Okay. After that, ERP came in. After that, something else. Yes, internet, for example, has led to a lot of industries being closed. For example, one of the first things that was impacted was travel agents, because we had portals where you can book something. You don't need travel agents anymore.
Yes, sir.
But that didn't mean that every single travel agent out there got wiped out. Today, what travel agencies do is they offer much more personalized services to business, and because of that, travel agency industry is still thriving, despite the fact that there are so many websites that are basically travel agents, if you think about it. So do not worry too much about the fact that there is this one single technology that will wipe out every job in the universe. It doesn't happen like that. Every new technology will, yes, create some disruption. It will also create opportunities. So part of your job is to stay with the tide. Yes. For example, if there's AI, you as a business student should be asking, what should I learn in AI? Which probably 10 other people in the market don't have. Because then you become much more valuable to the company. Because what companies look for is not complete layoffs. They're basically looking for people who can actually come in, work with these technologies and add value. So do not worry that there is one technology that will wipe out the entire world. It doesn't work like that. That's not how it happened in the history, right? I'm thinking that that's not how it's going to happen in the future as well.
Yes, sir. So when we talk about opportunities, so as BBA students, or any kind of other students as well, any kind of disciplines, would you think when we talk about opportunities, staying in India and looking for jobs would be a better option, or maybe pursuing higher educations abroad, maybe in the US like yourself, sir, would be a better option?
It's a tough question because I myself went there and I cannot really complain about all the good things that happened for me, right?
Yes, sir.
I feel it's always a good idea to step out of your comfort zone at least for some years, because you will become more independent, you develop a good network, you meet very interesting people, and across the globe, especially if you go to countries like US or UK or some of these Western nations, for example, you get an opportunity to work with very interesting people from across the world, right? I have worked with Israelis, Japanese, Koreans, Chinese, you name it. Right? And I'm better off as a person because of that. I know different cultures. I know how each person operates, because of their nationality or culture. And that helps, you grow as a person. I think that's very important. Second thing is the ecosystems are very robust there. For example, if you study in a good university in US, the kind of exposure you get, right? The professors, the companies that you work for, all of these add a lot of value in your own growth as a professional and as well as a person. And the money doesn't hurt, right?
Yes,
if you go to the US, you make $10, that's 86 rupees per dollar, right? 86 rupees is not a small amount of money. So the dollars or the pounds won't hurt at all. Now that said, it doesn't mean that there are no career opportunities in India. Right? For example, if you're one of those who plans to stay in India, right, you can go to a top IIM or you can go to an ISB, and because of that, so many career opportunities open up because these are top schools in the world as well. They're considered good universities across the world. And the good thing that has happened in the last, let's say, 15, 20 years compared to, let's say, when I was a student in college, is that workforce is much more mobile, right? For example, previously, if you had to go to US and work, you had to immigrate. In the sense, you have to go study there and then do a job there. But today, if you have a degree from a good Indian university, and if you're in a big company like, IT companies or, financial giants, then if you are able to show talent, then the companies automatically move you to Western nations for better opportunities and bigger opportunities. Right? So gone are the days when it is true that if you had an Indian degree, you had to stay in India. If you had a Western degree, you had to stay in a Western country. No. Now it's much more mobile, but that depends on how talented you are and how much value you're adding to the companies. So I would say do not worry too much about it. Money is what it is, right? If you feel good about being in India, do well, right? For example, all of you are in Mahindra University. That means your base level itself is here. So you should not be compromising. You should be aiming higher. But when you aim higher, automatically things will happen. Eventually, of course, nothing beats hard work and talent and all that stuff. But, right, going there is no longer the only option. But if you can get an option to go abroad and study and work there, I would say always take it. Even if it's for 5 years, that's okay, because as I said, fundamentally, I myself have experienced it. It just changes the way you look at life and work and everything. So it's awesome. I cannot complain about it.
So, sir, when you talk about options, sir, there are a lot of people, as I said, mentioned maybe going abroad or maybe staying back here. But another option people could say is switching disciplines, sir.
Yeah.
So people pursuing IIT engineering degrees, or maybe even in Mahindra University of Engineering, if they want to switch over to a management, or maybe want to switch over to consulting, or maybe any kind of business related avenues, what is the kind of steps that they should take to kind of like pivot their career path into towards the business side?
Sure. Do we have any engineering students here? No? Okay. All right. Okay. In fact, till about the last 5-7 years ago, 70% of B school students, especially MBA students in IIMs and some of the top colleges, or even below that, were engineers. Okay, IIMs and ISBs and all these guys have consciously changed the way they process applications to reduce that thing, which is the too many engineers in business schools, right? So it's not anything new that engineers are shifting into the business side. Okay, that said, I get a lot of engineering students walk into my office for advice, right? And I keep having these conversations a lot. One of the interesting misconceptions that many engineering students and their parents have, which by the way also prevails in our BBA program as well, is that the only thing that you do after BBA is MBA, because it rhymes very well, right? But that is actually not true. Okay, now let me explain. What has happened today is, today there is no role in business without technology, right? Absolutely nothing. Okay, you take HR, you take supply chain, you take finance, you take marketing, you do any role in the corporate world today. Technology is a very important part of that story. Okay, now the moment you say technology, there is always a back end as well as a front end. Now what is the back end? The back end is how can somebody develop that technology, coding and design and all that stuff. And then in the front end is how do you apply the technology to add value to the customers or the products. Now if you think from that perspective, there is enough space for engineers to play a big role in management. Now how do they get there? So one of the things that many of the engineers who are thinking of shifting can do is, it's not MBA that they should be thinking about, but it is actually MS, right? What I mean by MS, today if you look at the top business schools in the world, all of them have MS programs in the business school. MS in marketing, MS in marketing analytics, MS in supply chain, MS in finance, right? The list can go on. MS in cybersecurity, but cybersecurity not as a technology degree, but as a business degree. Okay. So if an engineer really wants to shift onto the management side, it is actually better to go for an MS program. The reason why an MS program is better than an MBA program is, an MS program takes you much deeper into a topic. For example, if you do an MS in marketing analytics, the entire 2 years will be focused on marketing analytics. Whereas MBA is much more larger and broader. If they are really interested in doing an MBA, a better idea is to maybe work for 3-4 years or maybe 5 years and actually go for an MBA, because majority of the good MBA programs across the globe prefer a little bit of work experience. For example, ISB, the 1-year program, they don't take you unless you have minimum 3 to 4 years of experience, or probably even more, because now they have started a 2-year program. Yes, so my advice to all the engineers who are thinking about shifting domain is, if you want to do it immediately because you are done with engineering, a good thing to do is do a MS in one of the business topics, right? For example, finance is heavily quantitative and technology driven today, heavily, right? And if engineers feel that they are good at it, they can actually do an MS in finance. Sure, that program will ask them to do a bit of prerequisites, but that's okay, right? Or they can do a tech job for 3-4 years, and then subsequently they can go for an MBA either abroad or in India, depending on what kind of aspirations they have. This is probably one way to think about it.
So would it be like kind of a required kind of thing to get work experience before pursuing higher educations, or? Not
necessarily. That's what I'm saying. So for example, MS programs typically, even in the good universities, you see that they are not insistent on work experience, because MS program is designed for fresh graduates. So if you look at so many of your seniors who have gone abroad, many of them have gone into MS programs and they don't have any work experience. But they still went into good schools, because MS programs fundamentally are designed a lot more for fresh graduates rather than experienced people.
So, sir, I want to tailor a question to just Mahindra folks, sir.
Sure.
So if someone's watching now who's not Mahindra, sorry. But so we know how we offer fourth year for BBA students right here, sir.
Yeah.
So people that are trying to pursue the option of going and pursuing something in abroad, do you think it's a valid kind of option to take that fourth year and stay?
That's very specific to our school of
Just
management.
very specific, yeah.
Yeah. So see, in general, few years ago, every big school in US, for example, mostly it's for US, wanted 16 years of education. So there was no option, right, 10 years ago. But slowly but surely, many universities have now become much more open to 3-year degrees. So fourth year is not mandatory. That said, if you want to hit high, for example, if you look at your seniors who've graduated from the fourth year, they have gone to some of the best universities in the world, right? Chicago, Purdue, those kinds of places, right? And there, to get into that kind of good universities, you need to build your profile a little bit more. So the way the fourth year program is designed is so that the students can do research, publish, present in conferences, build a little bit more of the base, which is very important because big universities ask for it. But I would say for 80% of the universities, especially in the US, you don't need to do a fourth year degree. It all depends on how high you want to aim and how high your aspirations are.
So can we still do maybe a 3-year degree? So people that aren't part of Mahindra and they want to pursue an education abroad, if they do a 3-year degree and then supplement that with maybe 1 or 2 years of work experience, do you think their
that would be good enough.
would be...
Absolutely.
Okay, sir.
Absolutely.
So I have one last question, sir.
Sure.
So what is one piece of advice you'd like to give to students that want to specifically start a business or a startup in the marketing segment? So like how we know a lot of people these days are trying to get into that advertising or other kind of maybe like being the third part or the middleman agent for all these companies. So if they want to start maybe a marketing consulting company, what is one piece of advice you would give to them, sir?
So you need to work for some time. Because you cannot just become a marketing consultant, nobody is going to trust you. Even if they like you, they probably won't give you the business because you don't have the experience. So some of the top marketing consulting agencies, including tech in marketing, tech in business kind of consulting firms, if you want to work for some time, right, build your base and then subsequently come out and start your business. So if you are getting into any business for that matter, for example, anything in business, in my opinion, it's not a good idea to do it immediately. If it's a knowledge work, I mean, you can get into other things. For example, if your family has a construction business and you want to start a hotel, that's a different story, right? But if you want to start some kind of a business with knowledge work in play, including tech companies, I personally feel, and if you look at data, that it's okay to work for some time and then come back. Because if you actually look at data, so many good studies done by MIT, Harvard and all these guys, right? There's this general misconception that, because we have seen, let's say, Mark Zuckerberg, who started Facebook, right? A few of them, very young, dropped out of college, became multi-billionaires. There's this general notion that most of the entrepreneurship happens right after college, right? Which I'm pretty sure many of you are also thinking. But if you actually look at numbers, in terms of who are the people who build very successful businesses, including many of the so-called unicorns and multi-billion-dollar companies, you see that most of these companies are built by people who are between 40 and 50. It is not college students. Now, why is that the case? The reason why that's the case is if you work in an industry for 10 years, for example, you get a better understanding of the problem statements of the customers. You get a better understanding of what are some of the things that are not being done properly in that industry. And then you are now able to create a solution that solves those problems. And hence, people with a lot more work experience end up creating much more valuable companies than somebody who's just dropped out of college, right? In statistics, we call it survivorship bias, right? Which is, out of the millions of people who have started companies, 2 people have dropped out of college and managed to build successful companies. But that doesn't mean that all the other millions of people are able to do that. So this is probably my advice to you.
Yes, sir. So, sir, we've come to the closing moments of the podcast.
Sure.
Right before we end, I want to ask something to lighten the mood up a little bit, not just think about the future, but
sure.
In your opinion, sir,
Uh-huh.
which movie promotions, maybe either in India or maybe in Hollywood, do you
Okay.
think have been the best? Like they've promoted the movie in the best way you could imagine, sir. One
It's a
movie.
Good question. Let me think. I'm a movie. I wouldn't say I'm a movie buff. I really enjoy movies. So I'm just trying to think which promotion was so awesome that I just couldn't stop myself from watching that movie. Good question. Maybe Deadpool.
One or two, sir.
Deadpool 1, 2, I mean, by the time, the whole story became a little bit stale, and when I say the story, the campaigning. But Deadpool 1, I thought was very smart, right? The way they repositioned that guy, what's his name,
Ryan Reynolds, sir.
Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan Reynolds was technically considered a failed movie actor till then.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right? Nobody wanted to do movies with him. And then all his previous movies, including, Green Lantern, were big flops. And then he went into a serious dip, if you think about it.
Yes, sir.
But then the way they repositioned him, as we call in marketing, the way they did the campaign in terms of the promos, and very edgy. Right, because most of the Hollywood big studio campaigns are always very, very plain because they don't want to hurt anybody's sentiment. Whereas Deadpool's campaign, you can, if you haven't seen it, you can always go back to YouTube and see Deadpool 1 campaigning. Very edgy, yes, a lot of bad language and all that stuff, but that's basically what young people like. So the way they brought that whole new persona for Ryan Reynolds and then added that to Deadpool, and then made it a super success. I probably, in the last 10 years, I would say that's one of the most awesome campaigns I've seen from a movie perspective.
Yes, sir. Now talking about super success, I'm hoping that this podcast will also become a super success in your eyes. And with that, closing with Dr. Pradeep Racherla, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Aram, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yeah.